So welcome, Karen. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me.
As we talked about, this podcast is a chance to highlight the spouses of some of the firefighters in our lives. So thank you for being a firewife. First things first, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am an RN, mother of two. I've been married to Tom for about, we'd laugh because I never get the right date, I think 36 years. Lived in the same place. We went to high school together, although we didn't know each other. But yeah, we've been in Natick forever. Born and raised in Natick.
Great. Yeah. How did you meet?
Well, as I said, Tom and I went to high school together at Natick. We had over 700 or 800 kids, so it was a very big school. I didn't know him. I think we're in different circles. And he actually, when I think he was about 19, bought a house right behind my parents. And we knew of him because my parents kind of knew his parents. And I took care of a firefighter. And they said to me, oh, wherever I lived, I was living with my parents at the time. Do you know Tom? And I said, oh, I went to high school with him, and just trying to be nice. They said, oh, tell him I said hi. But I really didn't keep in touch with him. And so he called me.
Did he remember you?
I don't know if he I mean, I think everyone knew each other, but it was so big. We weren't in classes together, to my knowledge. But he called me. It's so funny because I was living with my parents. It was a rule that you didn't call boys back. And so I never called him. And then another firefighter that was friendly with my parents came to the house one night, he and his wife, and they were talking about Tom and how nice he was. And I said, will you tell him I said hi? Because then I want him to call me at that point because everyone's telling me how nice he was.
Yeah.
So he called me. We went out, and the rest is history. I think I knew in like probably 3 months.
Wow.
So
you were already a nurse? Is that what you mean when you say you took care
I
of
was
a
a nurse, at the time. And I think I was probably a nurse for maybe 4 years. And that's when I took care of a firefighter's wife.
Okay.
You know, she was telling me how good he was and blah, blah, blah. And then we kind of got together through them. Yeah.
How long were you together before you got married?
We were engaged for about a year, and then we dated for about a year.
Nice.
So probably 2 years, roughly. Yeah.
And you have 2 boys?
2 boys. Yep. 32, 34, and one's engaged.
Congratulations.
And they both live near us. They both have their own places. So it's nice. So we all kind of.
That's the dream.
In touch. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's good.
So Tommy was on the fire department. When I graduated from nursing school, I think it was, he either started a year before me or a year after me. So we were both in the same professions around. We started around the same time. Yeah.
You do have the, quote unquote stereotypical story of nurse and firefighter, but not the same way that you meet.
Right. It wasn't in an ER. A lot of nurses meet in the ER, but no, we just met through a firefighter. Yeah.
Wow. Well, Tommy is what Robbie calls his work dad. So he really loves him. I know he's a wonderful person.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I am lucky.
Yeah, that's great. He's retired now.
Yeah.
How long has he been retired for?
He's been retired about 5 years. I'm so bad with dates.
It's okay.
Yeah, but he's been retired about 5-6 years now.
Nice.
Yeah.
But really retired or retired as
as he's retired as a firefighter, but he always has his side job. So I would say he still works. Yeah. I don't know how many hours a week doing that. He tries to get home before I get home so he can get ready for me, because when I come in, he's like, the house needs to be picked up or something. I don't know. I think he wants quiet time before I come home. Good. I don't know.
Yeah.
But usually I think, we usually see, like, he leaves after me, but he's home before me. But we also have other properties, so he's really busy doing stuff on the properties. And our boys both have dogs. So he's always doing dog duty or taking a dog out or whatever. But yeah.
Have you ever had a dog?
Oh, yeah. We had a beautiful dog when the kids were little.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So one of the themes that I've been picking up on when I speak to some firewives is the whole, the schedule. Yes, their schedule's flexible because they're on 24-hour shifts and, the schedule rotates. But then the other side of that is that when they're on, they're just not home and they can't be helpful.
Yeah.
Now, you were mentioning that Tommy's schedule was different when he started, and you're also a nurse.
Right.
So how was all that?
When we were first married and dating, I mean, we knew we wanted to renovate Tom's home. So that was going to cost money. Mm-hmm. And we both worked a ton when we were engaged, because we knew we needed to work a lot. So I was a recovery room nurse, so I worked a lot of call. I probably took 3 nights a week a call. And I, worked sometimes opposite him, but not always. But for the 11 to 7 part, but we did work a lot. Probably too much to a fault sometimes, I think. But we did work a lot. And then I would say probably 9 months after we got married, I got pregnant. Yeah. And then we worked opposite each other because we didn't have babysitting. So I worked evening shift at that point. Tom worked days, if he, his side job. And he also worked at the station. And they used to work 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then that was 2 days. And then 2 nights were at 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. the next day.
But they weren't, so it wasn't a 24-hour shift.
No, they were, it's like half shift, almost half one of them, like half shifts roughly. So it was 2 days, 2 nights off of 4.
Do you remember when they switched?
Oh, they switched probably when the kids were maybe in junior high, elementary. Okay. So when they were babies and stuff, we did that. But then I was working the evening shift. So when he would come home at 6, I used to have to get a babysitter, for that short time, because I never know if he was on a call. Yeah. And I had to leave the house. So we really sometimes only needed someone, could be an hour, could be only 10 minutes. Right. I never knew if he was coming. So I was very fortunate to have a wonderful neighbor who was very helpful. And I had a high school girl that was very helpful and flexible.
Yeah, that's great.
Because it's, a flexible schedule. I know it was scheduled for the year, which is good. I could plan ahead, but that was busy.
Right, but you're not hiring someone for the same day every week or something like that.
So every 6 weeks I got my schedule, and I always tried to work opposite Tom. But yeah, that was a little bit of a juggling act for a while. Wow. But yeah. And then he worked the 24 hours, so that it was a little easier and harder sometimes. I mean, I think it worked out better for him, with his other side job, because he was a little more at the station for those 224s.
Right. Because then I never thought of that, because Robbie's only ever been on the fire department when they were 24-hour shifts.
Right.
So then if he's working the day, he can't work that night. And if he's working at night, he probably wants to rest during the day.
Yeah.
Or you had your kids.
Well, Tommy never rested during the day. He would always just go right to work.
Wow.
Unless there were, when Matt was little, he just would not book a day and come home and take care of Matt. And Timmy sometimes, when Timmy came too, he would do that too. But it was not that long before they go to nursery school. It goes so fast. Yeah. And then they're in elementary, and then...
So I'm told.
Yeah, it gets better. Different juggling of schedules.
Right.
But yeah.
Wow. Tell me what it means to you to be a firewife.
Well, it's actually an honor. It really is. It's tough, but it can be so nice. It opens up a lot of opportunities to meet so many different people. And, I think you learn by example. And, I've always worked with nurses, and, it's more female oriented than I didn't work with a lot of guys. And now there's a lot of females in the fire department, but there's definitely a lot of camaraderie with the fire department. And, you see that and you think that doesn't happen in every profession. And it's kind of like when people say, oh, you're always going out with the fire department people. It is it is a family. It's a different kind of family. I mean, do they love each other every day? No, but they're always there for each other. Someone gets sick, someone needs a shift, someone, needs something moving. Yeah. Everyone just always pulls together, I think. It's just nice to see that. So I've met wonderful guys and girls through the fire department, and they've been friends even since retirement. some of the younger people like you guys, we still keep in touch with.
Yeah.
And it's funny because sometimes Tom will talk to some of the younger guys if there was, because he was active in the union, they had a union question, people would still call him, which is really nice. I think there are, some people I think liked his advice. Not everybody, but that's human nature. But I was fortunate to meet a lot of nice people, and I really think they're excellent friends. I've known their kids, their parents. They're just awesome people that we've met.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's really nice to hear. I agree with you. I think I've had less time as a fire wife.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've mentioned a couple times in the previous conversations, COVID happened kind of right as we were getting married, sort of. So it's been a different experience.
Right.
How do you feel it was different from when you started or when Tommy started at the fire department versus when he retired? What was that change, that cultural difference?
Well, when we were younger, everyone has more time to go out and stuff. As you get older and more responsibilities, you don't see each other like you used to. And now, we still keep in touch with people, but there is definitely, since retirement, there is a little bit of not keeping in touch as you'd like to, because most of our friends have grandchildren.
Mm-hmm.
So they're really busy with them, understandably. Hopefully I'll be there someday too.
Yeah, you will.
And not only that responsibility, but a lot of our friends now have 2 homes.
Sure.
So they're always traveling.
Yeah.
So even though I don't see them like I used to, I think we still, keep in touch. And if we know someone's sick or whatever, or needs help with something, it's kind of all reciprocal.
What do you think your favorite part was?
I think my favorite part was just meeting the people that we met, the lifelong relationships, good memories, traveling with them. Mm-hmm. Not to say it's always fun. I mean, I know they work hard, and, when they're at the station, there were some nights usually we talked every night when he was at the station before we went to bed, he'd call me or whatever. But there's nights that, we didn't talk, and, I would be like, oh, I hope he's all right. Is he on a call? But, that's just the life of a firefighter wife, I guess. Right. Yeah.
It's a little different now, I think, because there's so much technology.
Right.
So like Robbie shares his location with me. I know where he is at all times if I care to look, right?
Yeah.
But you can't go down that rabbit hole. But
right.
I imagine, maybe I'm wrong, I imagine it would have been harder before when you don't know where he is, and if is he at a call? Is he at the station? Is he
Well, yes and no, because I always think Tommy would always tell me about different things they went on, and he was a stickler for rules. And I always thought, well, I know he's being as safe as he can, and the guys that he's with, I think they're being as safe as they can.
Yeah, so important.
So I always felt comfortable about that. But I mean, cell phones were just coming out.
Mm-hmm.
It was a luxury to have a cell phone. I only got a cell phone because I was on call. We used to have beepers. Yeah. I mean, so there was a payphone that the guys used to have to take turns to call.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So you were lucky, if you get a call, but then when the cell phones came, I mean, we'd talk or text, but when the kids were little, we really couldn't do that too much because we'd have to call on the payphone, and I really didn't want to call on the payphone if it wasn't that important.
Right. Just to say goodnight or something. Meanwhile, now we'll FaceTime every night when Robbie's at the firehouse so he can say goodnight, And
we never had that.
Yeah. It's a luxury, to your point.
It is.
It really is.
It is very lucky that you could have that, because I think my kids would have liked that.
Of course.
Yeah.
What kid wouldn't want that?
I mean, they talked to Tom and stuff when, but I remember one of the firefighters' wives, she used to have a scanner.
Okay.
And she used to call me or tell me,
like a radio scanner.
A radio scanner. And she would say, they're going to go to the fire. And I'm like, I don't want to know any of that. Mm-hmm. I don't want to know where they're going. I don't need to know that. I'm just, I know he's doing the best he can do. And this is his job. And I never wanted to know that. But I know, like, some people had scanners back then. But that wasn't, like, for me, it wouldn't work.
Which goes to kind of one of the thoughts that I've been having throughout this series is, how did you deal with the stress of any day could be the last day? Did you kind of put it away, or did you think about that a lot?
No, I put it away.
That's what
I'm
most
not
people
that,
have been saying.
I think, you know what, if I thought like that, that wouldn't be good for my kids to see me like that. And as I said, I think Tommy did the best he could to be safe, and with his other people that were, on the engine with him and his crew. I don't want to, I never went down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't either.
Yeah. I don't think that's healthy.
Agreed.
I mean, not to say if someone would say to me, are you worried about a fire? Well, yeah, but you know what? I don't know. My husband could be a accountant and walk to the T and get hit by a T. Who knows?
Yeah, these things happen.
So I didn't really worry about that. Sometimes if he came home and told me about some calls, I'd be like, oof, but for the most part, I try not to worry about that.
Yeah. Now, being a nurse, did you find that Tommy told you most of the things that he saw?
Yeah, no, we talked about that stuff. And I think it was because I was a nurse. And I mean, it's reciprocal. I would come home and tell him, I used to work in an ICU. And I mean, I think we did talk about, things that we saw or things that were bothersome. And even if it wasn't a gory thing, sometimes he felt so bad for some of the families of things that were going on. And, I think every family's had some kind of death or tragedy that you just think, it's hard.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing.
Well, they're going into people's homes. So they're seeing them at their best, but also at their worst.
Right.
So that must be really tough.
And I'm glad that he could talk to me about it, because I think it kind of helps decompress a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So now that he's retired and thinking back, is there something that you really just don't miss? What was kind of the worst part of it that you're happy is over?
For me, I always dreaded Sundays when he was at the station. It's so weird.
Really? Why?
Because I always grew up, Sundays was a family day.
Okay.
And, every Saturday, if Tommy was in at the station, he was working his side job. So every Saturday, I never planned on Tommy being home. But on Sundays, I really wanted him home. And if it was at the station, he had to work at the station, and be like, it's just it can be a long day, because, my parents weren't around, and, his parents really weren't available to help. His father died young and my parents died young. So his mother wasn't really able to help us.
Sure.
So, and my sister was great, and Tom's family's great, but everyone's kind of distance. They have their own family.
Of course.
So I just sometimes thought, I really want to do something and go somewhere. And we did. I did with the kids, but I just always, some of those days I would think, it would be so nice to do something with Tom too. But, he never wasn't one to refuse overtime.
I'm familiar with the type.
Which some days I'd be like, I don't think we need to do that. But, you're always thinking, we have 2 kids going to go to college and all that. But,
right.
But
I've also learned that it seems to be a bit of an addiction for some of these firefighters to take the overtime. So
I agree. And I mean, I can see their point. But Sundays were always like, I hope he doesn't take overtime today or work.
Yeah. Did you ever tell him not to?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I tell him, he goes, no, I'm taking it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I mean, if I really put my foot down, I guess, or if it was a birthday or an anniversary, he would never take it. But, there were days that I hated that.
Yeah. And now he's home every Sunday.
Every Sunday he's home. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you feel like he's home too much now or no?
No, I think it's good because he's got his thing going on. He has his friends that he still sees. They'll go out to lunch. We call it the old man's club. Uh-huh. They'll go out every now and then for lunch, and we try to walk a lot together. That's our thing.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah. So, when I come home from work, when it was nice, we always, walk every day.
That's great.
And then sometimes even in the winter, he'll say,
you live in a nice neighborhood for that. So that's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So great. We like to do that.
Okay. If you were to talk to a new fire spouse or somebody who's thinking of becoming a fire spouse, what advice would you give them?
I would say be patient with the schedule. It is hard, but I think it's something you get used to and you work together. Do you know what I mean? Tom and I, with my crazy schedule, some weeks, if I was on call, you just have to be patient about it and not be selfish sometimes, even though, I really wanted to go here, but, he took overtime. And I do get it sometimes. For the most part, I understood that. And I think take advantage of when people want to get together and you can meet people on the fire department, which is great. We used to do a Christmas party. We alternated with another couple every year.
Oh, that's so nice.
And it was good because even though we didn't hang with everybody on his shift, it was just nice to be in a different environment. And I think it's good to socialize and do stuff outside the fire department. And we have other friends other than fire department friends, which is good too.
I believe
I think that's a good thing too.
Yeah.
To mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And of course our family we see too. So it's good to have a mix.
Yeah.
But
did you feel the same way about your nursing colleagues? Were they kind of a second family to you or not really?
I'm very close to the people that I work with at work. I'm not always together with them because now I'm in a different age bracket. Mm-hmm. So I am the mother of mostly all these people now. And I do stuff with them. We'll go out, but I seem to keep in touch with the people that have retired. It's funny. One of the last people of my group when I started, I was your age or even younger when I started. And I have continued those relationships.
That's lovely.
Still. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tommy and I are going to get together with another nurse and her husband. And I was a new grad. So I was 21. I'm 65 now.
Wow.
I've always kept in touch with her.
Yeah.
And I worked with her and she was a mentor. So yeah, it's definitely a different kind of relationship than the firefighter people. But I still keep in touch with them and I participate in stuff at work and I just don't go out with them as much, the younger people. I kind of keep with the people that I used to work with.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right? It's a different group.
Yeah.
Did you ever want either of your sons to become a firefighter? Or did you not want them to? Or you just
Well, I already knew one of them definitely was not interested. It wasn't his thing.
Okay.
He is more business savvy and no, that wasn't his thing. My oldest I thought might be into it, but he said to me once, I never could do that because he cannot stand blood, vomit, nothing like that.
You need to be okay with those things to be a firefighter. Or a nurse.
Yeah, even when he was working at the hospital, I got him a job when he was in college. And every now and then I'd see someone get sick outside and he would tell, oh God, it was so gross. So my kids never really ever wanted to. Yeah.
It's not for everybody.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. But see, Tom's father was.
Mm-hmm.
So and that wasn't Tom's first thing. He went to college for business.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No kidding. So what changed his mind?
He hated sitting in a desk. Mm. So he left, I think it was his senior year. He just told his father he really hated it. And so he took the exam and passed and became a firefighter and has no regrets.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Any funny stories, any other things you want to share? If you were listening to this podcast, what would you want to hear about?
I'm trying to think of funny stories. Well, they all play jokes on each other. And my husband is a bad joker. And I remember one day I think it was either our TV or telephone, but we had to call, I think it was Verizon. And the guy was supposed to come out and check something. And I remember saying to Tom, because he was going to work, it was a 24-hour shift. And I was like, I'd stay all day waiting for the Verizon man, blah, blah, blah. And he had one of the guys in the fire department call me.
Oh, my goodness.
And say, this is Verizon. We have an appointment. I know, but I'm going to have to cancel. And I had already canceled and taken a day off before.
Oh, my goodness.
So I was so mad because I'm like, we're not going to have either telephone or TV or whatever it was. It was so long ago. The kids were little. And to this day, the guy will always say, oh, you were so mad. I felt so bad. I said to Tom, I don't think I should have called her. He goes, no, you should have. It's fine. But even when he sees me now, he goes, oh, I felt bad that day. You were so mad. I said, I got over it.
Yeah, we've moved on.
It was funny.
How did they end up telling you? Did he?
Oh, he called me right away. He called me back. He goes, "It's Mike. I was only kidding." I said, "Oh my God, Nat."
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I know they do a lot of pranks at the firehouse.
Mm-hmm.
I know the whole like probie thing is really fun for them too. Like when somebody's on their first year and they like to, haze them, but gently so, I think.
Right. Right.
But yeah, Robbie likes to do that kind of stuff. But he doesn't really pull pranks here, but he is definitely a jokester.
Yeah.
I think he likes to, and his sense of humor is very interesting. It's different. I work with kids, and so I have to be very careful with my jokes and my words. And then I come home and it's a completely different concept.
Well, I had to tell Tom that recently because our niece, who's our great niece, she's 4. She's at the house and he's teasing her. And then she's getting like a little scared and a little like she likes him, but she didn't like that he was playing a joke. And I said to him when she left, "You got to stop the teasing. She's young.
She's not going to figure it out.
You can't do that with a 4-year-old."
Right.
But
yeah. Robbie will make so many like poop jokes and potty jokes and things like that. And our daughter's 4 also.
Yeah, very impressionable.
And she keeps telling him, "Dada, that's a potty word. Dada, that's a potty word." I'm like, good for you. Tell him. Yeah. Don't let him talk to you that way.
Yeah.
Anything else on your mind? Anything else you want to mention?
No, I appreciate you doing this.
I love hearing from everybody I've talked to so far. You use the word, it's an honor. And that's been everybody's answer. And it's just been amazing because I feel the same way.
Yeah.
But it's just nice to know that, we don't take it for granted what they do. And like they leave the house and you hold your heart in your hands for 24 hours until they get home. And it's needed and it's necessary, but it's just nice to recognize it, I think.
It's funny because I think some of my friends that aren't married to firefighters, girls I kept in touch with from especially high school, they'll be saying, "Oh, my husband's got to plan the trip. My husband's got to do the checkbook." And I'll always say, "Do you know how to do that?" I said, I do all that.
Yeah.
And it's not that Tommy can't do it, but he's so busy, with his, 2 jobs and putting kids to bed at night by yourself sometimes. I mean, I think you have to be independent.
You have to be.
You have to be. Like some of these people that, so I have a leak in my house. I can figure that out. I might call Tom to talk to him about it or, who do I need to call, whatever. I remember Thanksgiving one morning, he was getting off night, the 24-hour shift. And I went early in the morning to put the turkey in. My brand new kitchen, something was leaking.
Oh no!
I had the ceiling was leaking above the stove, and I remember thinking, "Oh my God!" I had to get a trash can, put it down, and I called Tom, and I don't know what to go. Shut the water up. I'm like, "Okay, I can do that."
Yeah,
but it's like some of my friends were like, "I don't know what I would do," and I say, "You do figure these things out.
Yeah,
you have to be independent." I went to PTO for so many years in school. I was, the room mother for my kids forever, it seemed. And one of the kids said, "Does Matt not have a daddy?"
Oh, no.
And I said, "Yes, he does."
Oh, that probably would have made Tommy feel really sad, though.
No, but Tommy went to all the sports all the time, most of the sports. I mean, sometimes he had to work. But it's like you learn to be independent. It's not like he didn't support his kids because he was there all the time for his kids and, practicing ball or tennis, whatever with them.
Yeah.
But
I think that's one of the themes I'm picking up on. So far, every firefighter that I've talked about has been, the spouse will tell me he's wonderful. He's just not home that much. Right? It's not that when he's home, he's amazing.
Yeah.
But we have to know how to be both parents when he's not.
Right.
That's the hard part.
Right. And that is sometimes being the disciplinarian sometimes, because then I would, I'd be the bad person sometimes, and he'd come home and he'd be the play person. But when he had to turn it on,
of course,
they knew better.
Right.
They knew, but sometimes that could be tough too. Homework. Oh God. Sometimes they hated homework, especially with one of my kids.
Really?
Was not into it. Didn't want to do it. And, I was like, okay, here we go. It depends on where your kid is in their life too. As they get older, it's different stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Of course. Yeah.
But you get through it. And I think you just support each other.
Yeah.
But I don't know how we did it sometimes because I would think, I don't know how I could have 2 jobs, come home, still have a smile on my face, and take care of kids.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think one of the things I have noticed is that my meals have gotten a lot simpler than they used to be. Like I used to like to try, you know, I don't know if fancy is the right word, but now it's like I made tuna salad for dinner, like tuna sandwiches, and that was great, and that was dinner. We ate, we were happy, full.
Yeah.
There were some vegetables somewhere in there.
Yeah.
But the things we used to have the time for, we don't. You just have to learn to kind of roll with the punches because if
you have to.
You have to. Yeah.
And luckily, my husband's good about that. He'll eat anything. Yeah. He's very flexible.
Same.
Yeah. He's very flexible. And, he'll help cook too and, clean up and all that.
Right.
But
did he ever cook at the firehouse?
Yeah, but I don't think he was a big cooker.
Okay.
He'll set up, he'll clean up, he'll do the grocery shopping. But no, he wasn't, because there was one particular guy in the fire department. I used to laugh because he'd come home. His name was Tom too.
Oh, funny.
And he would talk about, Tommy made this. And I'd be like, oh God, do I have to hear about Tom again tonight? What he made? Because he'd always
Are you competing with Tom?
Oh yeah. Point? I'd be like, yeah, right. Right. Because I made I have a few things that I make all the time. We just rotate. But yeah, when we certainly don't eat like we used to. Because
you
now
just can't.
Yeah.
It's funny. Robbie will come home and tell me what they made, and it's like these wild meals, and I'm like, it must be nice to just be able to do that every night. But of course, the other side is that they're working on fires and stuff. Right. But at the same time, I'm like, you talk a big talk. Why don't you make some of these things at home? Yeah. You tell me you can make all these things, but I don't know. Funny.
Well, you know what I don't like? He can cook, and he does make things periodically, but I always say, the kitchen's a mess, but I mean, they have more teamwork,
right?
So someone will do the setup and the cleanup. So it's a little different when it's just you doing it yourself.
Totally. Yeah. Especially if you're home with kids, not to talk about that too much, but if you're home with the kids, then you have to watch the kids and also do the cooking and the cleaning and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I did a lot of meal prep ahead sometimes, or I would try to make dinner so we would have leftovers. Maybe not that night, but
like 2 nights later.
A night or two later, I'd be like, we're going to have leftovers.
Right.
Because sometimes it was hard, especially when I was working back when the kids were a little bigger and working days. You have to, because I didn't really want my kids to be getting like all this takeout and stuff, junky stuff. So that was the thing. We always tried to eat as a family,
I like that.
It might not be the best meal, but at least we were all together.
Did Tommy talk to the kids about what he was doing at the firehouse? Not like gory stories, of course, but, did he talk about it at all, or did they?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
he did. I don't think, that they didn't really want to hear about calls. But my other son was one of them is more interested in some of the calls than the other one. And some of the stuff one of them would never even understand about the truck stuff or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, they did talk about it. They understood, what he did.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I only ask because the other day, I think I was telling Robbie a story, actually. It wasn't him telling me about work. I was telling him something. And we have our 4-year-old at the table, and I'm trying to talk in code because I didn't want her to understand something. Yeah. And she goes, Mama, talk to us both. And I was like, okay, all right, I will talk to you both. So I stopped that story and I told a different story, or we, talked about something else. But he used to tell me a little bit more, like at the dinner table. But now we have to be careful.
Yeah, you do.
She picks up on everything. But I do want him to talk about it,
right?
But just in a way that's not scary or
there's certain things, or you know what I think too. Sometimes when the kids were in like junior high, we would discuss drugs or alcohol. And that was like one of my kids, he didn't drink at all in high school, which is very unusual. I mean, not that everyone would probably say he did, but I know he didn't. And that people would used to say, we know that your son's the designated driver because he didn't. But we scared them about do not drink and drive.
Well, from both of you, sure.
Yeah. And same thing too, when I worked in the ICU and you take care of these kids, or even the drugs, our kids were like, we didn't do anything until we got into college because we were so afraid.
That's the way to do it, right? Yeah. Right. So, yeah, I think especially now, I don't know if things have changed since Tommy was younger, but I think Robbie's getting a little bit burnt out with some of that stuff because there's a lot of that going on. Yeah. He does a lot of calls for drugs and things like that. Yeah. And it kind of becomes a conversation where I'm a little bit more, more on the liberal side where I'm like, we need to provide help and support. And he always comes back at me with, if they don't want the help, we can't help them. Right. So they get a little bit burnt out. So it just makes for an interesting conversation, but we have to be careful with that kind of stuff when we're talking about it at home now. But
right.
Did you feel like you and Tommy agreed on all this stuff, or did you have different kind of opinions about it?
No, I think we agreed on it. I'm probably more straight-laced than Tommy to begin with anyway.
Really?
But yeah, definitely. But I mean, there were drugs when my kids were in high school for sure. I think it's definitely gotten worse.
Yeah.
Some of the stories we hear. But Tom and I live in a town that our kids went to school. So sometimes, he was on calls with some of the people we knew or kids, and that could be hard sometimes.
Yeah.
But,
oh, wow. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
That must be tricky. And then he has to come home and not tell you stuff.
Right.
Because they're your neighbors.
Right.
Interesting.
So,
yeah. Well, thank you so much. I really
you.
appreciate your time.
This
is lovely. Thank you for everything you do, both as a nurse, both as a fire wife, just being you.
Well, I guess we are lucky that we collided with each other, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he's his work dad. I don't think that was avoidable at all.
It's so funny. One of my sons was saying, "No, who you going out with tonight?" Yeah. And I was telling him, and he goes, "Now, how old are they?" And I said, "I think they're about match age, like 34 to 36." And he goes on. I said, "Rob is Dad's third son."
Yeah. He knows him, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But, he's terrible about, he needs to see what he looks like.
To remember who. Yeah.
Even our friends that they've known forever. There's one that was like, "No, who's that one again?" I'm like, oh, my God.
That's okay.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed being here as much as I did. If you have any questions for me, or if you'd like to be interviewed, please reach out at thefirewivespodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Tune in next week for the next episode of Firewives.